Hola a todos, muy buenos días, ¿cómo están? Espero que hoy se encuentren muy bien. Nuevamente nos encontramos aquí sábado para las clases de marketing digital. Nos quedan aproximadamente unas 3 clases más o menos. Recuerden que el link de las próximas clases siempre les va a estar llegando a los correos con los cuales se registraron. Más o menos les llega el jueves, el viernes más o menos. Entonces hoy vamos a tener clase de content marketing y no, pues espero que se la disfruten mucho. Vamos a esperar a que los demás vayan llegando a la clase y como siempre recuerden tener papel y lápiz, tomen sus notas y pues ojalá aprovechen mucho estas clases. También paso a recordarles en caso tal de que tengan alguna pregunta o quisieran saber más acerca de cómo es el proceso con nosotros, recuerden agendar sus asesorías por cualquiera de nuestros medios, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, ahí va a estar Valentina, ya siempre está ahí muy pendiente de ustedes, para que la contacten y agenden sus asesorías, que es completamente gratis. Vamos a esperar unos minuticos a que empiece la clase. Listo, entonces estamos listos, la clase va a comenzar ya.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Manpreet Azad. Just a little bit of info about me. I've worked in marketing for the last 20 years. I studied marketing at university in London, and I have worked for some really large organisations in London. I now have a young family, so I've got 2 young girls. I didn't want to go back to working in London in that corporate environment, so now I work on a freelance basis. That just gives me some more flexibility around working around my children. I also have set up a small business myself, and it's in the area of food allergies. So I'm using all of the practical techniques myself firsthand to grow my business from scratch. So I've got lots of experience, and I hope that I can help you guys and share some of that with you today. So as Lucinda mentioned, feel free to ask questions in the chat as you go along, and I will, let's have a look at the chat, I will answer them as I get to them. But we will have time at the end. We'll have about 10 minutes at the end to ask questions. So please, please make the most of this. Make the most of this session, and you know, tap into my experience. So today we're talking about content marketing. I know that a lot of you have got some marketing experience and maybe working in marketing at the moment. And hopefully you've gone through the slides as well, so you should be familiar with what content with what content marketing is. But what I'm going to do is just pull out the key things that I think are really important, and some of the things that I have seen people do really well, just to show how you can, if you're going to be using content marketing as part of a strategy that you're working on, how you can really make that work really well for you. Okay, so I've got a few slides that I will share. Okay, so today what we will cover is we will look at actually what content marketing is and how that is different from other marketing strategies. We'll also look at the different types of content marketing, and we'll look at the benefits that content marketing has to help grow your business. And then we will end with some really my strategies for optimizing your content marketing. And hopefully, really what I'd like you to get out of today's session is to really have the tools and understanding to really be able to, if you're working for a client or you're working within a marketing department, to really know the importance of content marketing as part of the overall marketing strategy, and also how to do it really well and get the results that you that your business will want you to achieve. Okay. Okay, so what is content marketing? Content marketing can sometimes be confused with marketing content, and actually they're two very separate strategies. Marketing content is, and why is it really important to understand what the difference is? Well, the answer to that is the two separate strategies, and what the client or what you as a marketeer will see as is two separate results. So what you want to be really clear with is understanding within with any type of marketing what the result is that you're looking to expect, because that's how you will measure whether it's working as you expected. Marketing content is really advertising, and that's promotion, that's selling your product, that is saying, me as a business, I am the best, buy from me. Whereas content marketing is much more subtle. The purpose of content marketing is really to engage your audience and build your brand, and it's also to provide some education, solving a problem, if you will, and usually that's done for free. So an example of content marketing might be customers saying, this company is the best, buy from them. And your content marketing strategy would be using your customer advocates and testimonials as part of your content marketing strategy. So again, so it's much more subtle. It's not self-promotion, it's not selling, basically. And so what often happens with maybe private individual clients or businesses is that they want to see sales and they want to see the results really quickly. So they might have a marketing budget and want to quickly grow the business, and they don't see maybe the value in investing within content marketing, because actually content marketing is more of a long-term strategy. You're looking at about 12 to 24 months to really see the results coming through that. So it's really important to, I suppose, manage expectations, understand what the results are, what the benefits are. So we're going to talk about that throughout this session. So I've got an example here. I'll go back to the slides. So this is, on the left-hand side is an ad from McDonald's, and it's promotional content. It's offering 50% off when you order through Uber Eats. So it's a promotional content, and it's basically pushing a sale. On the right-hand side is a social media piece of content, and the caption says, so obviously you've got the picture, then the caption says, those people who say they don't want any but then steal your fries. So a really clever strapline that goes with that image there. It's not saying McDonald's, we serve the best fries. It's the content is humorous, it's engaging, it's relatable, and that is what you're trying to do when you're producing content for something like social media. And it's subtly saying that, you know, our fries are amazing and our customers think our fries are amazing, but it's not overtly pushing that message. And because the content is relatable, it will get a lot more engagement than if it's kind of a one-dimensional, just putting it out there message. So I hope that makes it clear in terms of what the difference is between content marketing and promotional marketing. Does anybody have any questions around that? Let me go back to... No, I think that's quite self-explanatory, but what sometimes I do see, for example, on social media posts, is people trying to sell. And when you are selling, so for example, on social media, it's really easy to just put ads on there, or to put at the bottom of your caption, buy now, or click for the link in my bio. But actually, we'll come to why, you know, what the benefit of developing your social media content is. But really, as soon as you start selling, that's no longer content marketing, that's promotional marketing. Okay, so the purpose, just to go over that again, the purpose of content marketing is to build a relationship with your customer. It's around building a brand, building a connection, a true connection with your customer. So you would, if you think about in your, you know, in your own experience and how you build connection and relationships maybe with people, that's not done overnight, and it's not done on the first point of communication. And this isn't a I suppose a great example, but hopefully you can all maybe relate to it. If you think about dating, and I don't know if any of you have ever done any online dating or on any online dating apps, but if somebody was to message you and say, completely out of the blue, you've not had any contact with them before, you don't know them, you don't have any friends in common, and they ask you for a date, or the date is maybe like a weekend away in Europe or something like that, you would probably hopefully say no, because that's really forward. You don't know anything about the person, and it's just a really forward thing to expect. And it's the same with marketing. If you're trying to sell something to somebody who doesn't know anything about you, the majority of people, some people will buy from you, but the majority of people won't. And what they're looking to do is find out more information about you, and be able to make a decision as to whether they want to continue to find out more about you. And then further down the line, that will lead to maybe saying yes to that date, or saying yes to buying into that product or service. People buy from people or businesses that they know, like, and trust, and that's what you're trying to do from your content marketing. So in order to build trust, you're not pushing yourself to say, my product is the best, my product is going to deliver and meet every single need that you have within this area. But if your customers are saying that, then that's okay, because people will buy when they see it's been recommended, and particularly if it's recommended by people they aspire to be like. And the second part of what the purpose of content marketing is providing providing some sort of education which is solving the customer's problem. Now, some products you might say, well, they're not actually solving a problem, they're just I want that, I don't need that, but I want that, which is desire. But if we think about it in really simplistic terms, just for the purpose of what I'm trying to explain, and I'll give you an example of, for example, somebody that I know has a wealth management product, and the way that he set up his business was for a year he sent out a weekly newsletter giving information on savings and how to increase your savings and how to generate wealth for your long-term future. And he grew his audience. He's giving away lots of useful information for people who are particularly interested within that topic, and he built a really loyal following. And then he launched a podcast and continued to grow his following, and he didn't have anything to sell for over a year. And when he then came to he then developed a product which was a 12-month wealth management training course, and he then hosted a webinar to sell the course, and within 5 minutes his intake for the course had completely sold out. And it's just an amazing way in which he was able to really understand that there was a demand for his product. He knew exactly what his customers wanted from the product, so it helped to shape his product. And he got all of this from the feedback that he was getting from the newsletters. So what was it that people were interested in? What did they need help in understanding? So he was providing all of that value up front. People then developed the trust. He was seen as a credible person within this industry, and he has a waiting list of people that want to join his course. So I've got quite a few examples of very similar businesses that I've set up this way, but I just wanted to demonstrate what it is that you're trying to do when you're producing content. So a lot of people will think content is, yes, it's blogging, and that's probably one of the most popular forms of content marketing. But I suppose the point that I want to try and make is really understand and really make sure that your content is relevant to your audience and it's providing some sort of value. So whether that is creating a connection with your audience, and social media is a great way to do that. But if you're doing things like blogs or ebooks, really try to understand what the value is from the person reading that content, which you're always going to be focusing on your ideal client. And you will then have a really great content marketing strategy, and people will want to subscribe, they will want to share, and you will see your content marketing strategy take off. And if you're not seeing those types of results, then maybe you would need to look at whether you really understand your audience's problems, whether there's a disconnect between the content that you're providing and what it is that the audience want to see. But there's lots of other areas that you could be optimizing as well. And I suppose it's also really important to remember that people are seeing thousands and thousands of content every day, and your content needs to really stand out from all of the other pieces of content that are being shown at the customer. But if you've got the actual content and if you think of yourself as an editor, if you've got the editorial content right, then people might be a bit more forgiving about if, you know, maybe your images aren't aren't the glossiest images, or maybe the sound quality on your podcast isn't perfect. But the first thing I would say to really make sure that you've got right is really understand who your audience is and what their problem is. And I know that within the content marketing module there is a section on the buyer personas, and you probably are really familiar with that because of your marketing backgrounds. But yeah, it's really understanding who your customers are and what their problems are. So sometimes people might be get the demographic really well and can really paint a picture, but the harder thing is really identifying what are these people's specific problems. So actually, before I go on to the next section, I'll just touch on how you can find a tip of mine to how you can understand your audience better. And so for me, how I would do it is I would talk to my audience. I would hang out where they hang out. So what I mean by that is join the types of Facebook groups that they would be in, and I would be looking at the types of questions and problems that they're asking people within that group. I would be looking at the other types of people that they might be following on social media, and in the type of content that they're engaging in at the moment. And I would really try and understand as closely as I can who they are, what their biggest problem is. And so I mentioned earlier that my business is around food allergies, and I have personal experience myself from that because my daughter has very severe food allergies, and I have severe allergies as well to medication and milder symptoms to some foods. But my daughter has very severe food allergies, which is a big adaptation to our lifestyle. And I struggled with things and have problems around this. And during the fact I'm a part of a number of Facebook groups, I follow other people on Instagram, and for me to know that the same problems that I'm facing, lots of other people in the same situation are facing the same problems as me. I'm able to understand that this is a problem. I've come up hopefully with a really good solution to it. But what I also do is I hold focus groups with other mums, and I test things and run things past them. I've set up a virtual meetup again to find out more information. I have regular contact with people within my target audience to make sure that I'm actually really understanding what their problem is, so that I can come up with effective content and ultimately an effective offer for them when I get to that point. So somebody, for example, if you're trying to, for example, if you were going back to my friend who has the wealth management product, if he didn't have any money himself, but he's trying to help you to generate wealth for yourself, but he doesn't have any money and he's in lots of debt, you're not going to trust him, and you're not going to take advice, or hopefully you wouldn't take any advice, because he's not living it himself. So he's not authentic in what he's teaching and what he's saying. So I've come across that with doctors, for example, who have given advice about food allergies, but they haven't ever experienced anything like that themselves, and a lot of people feel like maybe they're not the best people to really understand what it's like day to day to live with, and what it's like in terms of like adapting your lifestyle to live with something like that. Okay, sorry, I feel like I've talks about that quite a lot. So let's go back to the types of content, and I will go back to my slides.
Manpreet, just to let you know, we've got a question in the Q&A.
Okay, let's go back to that.
But it might be relevant more in a bit if you're going to talk about different types of content, actually. So
okay, yes, we're going to talk about this now. Okay, so are ebooks still relevant? I just find myself ignoring them these days, not leaving my email address to get something anymore. So that is a brilliant question. So as I said, there are thousands of messages and people, and the reason why you're seeing so many more things to buy ebooks or get your email address is because it works, and people are spending people are investing more time and effort into content marketing because it works, and it works better. It's not a strategy that you would use instead of the other channels, because they all work when they all work best when they all work together. But yes, so there's thousands and thousands of content marketing that is trying to be shown to people's target audiences, and what you have to do is make yours really stand out from the crowd. Again, this piece of advice is for any type of marketing strategy. It has to stand out, and the way that you get your content to stand out is by making it really laser sharp focus, really honing in on the problem that somebody has. So for example, it could be if it's a mum and baby does not sleep, the mum's tired, a really huge problem for the mum at that time. And if there was an ebook or a piece of content that said how to get your baby to sleep through the night in 2 days, that will be so attractive to a really large group of people, because of the promise that piece of content is making. Whereas if it's something that's really dry and not relevant to you, then yes, exactly, there's no way that you would want to be inundated with information that's not relevant to you. So so just going back to the types of content, spans over things from your web content, through web content to video content, blogs, can be emails as well, so newsletters that you will be sending as part of your email strategy. It can be ebooks, it can be webinars, it can be even presentation slides, depending on your market, and podcasts. So really all of those types are content which should be delivering some sort of I suppose educational value. Your social media is also content marketing, and really the way that social media is really good at doing is building a community, building engagement, and building that brand connection as well. So it's less, I suppose, formal. It's seeing the business as maybe real people behind it, and people can then feel that they can relate much more. But so those, I suppose, are the two main things that you want to make sure that your content marketing is hitting one of those objectives. Okay. So I hope that answered your question. One of the things that prevents people maybe investing in content marketing, and looking at that slide, yes, that I just reeled off a whole load of different types of content. Now, one of the reasons why people maybe don't see the results from their content marketing is because there are so many things and they're spreading themselves too thin, and they're not getting maybe the consistency across all of those different channels. And so what I would say is focus on one channel first and really master that one channel before you then move to the next. And so what people might start off with is a blog and then move that along to a podcast. But trying to grow both things from scratch is really, really difficult. And if you invest all of your time in one channel, you're going to grow your audience who will then follow you then to your second and third channels of content. The other thing, I suppose, which I mentioned earlier, is that yes, it does take a long time to actually see the results and to see the growth, but it's well worth it. And we can see lots of other companies using content as a strategy, so it is working for other companies. I personally know lots of businesses that are using content and doing very successful from it. I'm going to talk to you about the benefits, so this ties in nicely with the next slide. Okay, so we've talked about content marketing, educating your audience and solving their problem. So when you do that, you're demonstrating that you are the solution. If you really understand their problem, they're going to trust you, and they're more likely to buy from you. Also, having lots of having content will also automatically boost your searchability. So the more content that you have out there, the idea is that you get in front of people which are your target audience, and content will do that for you. Also, I mentioned that when your audience is interested in the content that you're putting out there, they will then subscribe to you, they will want to receive, they'll be looking forward to your next pieces of content that are coming out, and what you want them to do is to share your content, and that's how you will expand your reach. With content, it's excellent for building customer loyalty. So in the module, in the DMI, they talk about fans, turning customers into fans and brand advocates, and having a community is a great way to do this. And basically your customers are selling your products for you, and when your customers are doing that, people buy into it more than if you're promoting yourself. And one of the really important things that I feel content marketing does is it gets you noticed for collaborations. So you might feel, I'm working really, really hard and producing all of these blogs and this content, and you know, my following is growing slowly, my blogs are they're not being seen by lots of people, but you don't know who is necessarily looking at your content. I have seen people, particularly on Instagram, do well, but to develop their Instagram content, and they're just themselves, and they have been introduced, or people have noticed them, and so very high profile influencers have noticed them, collaborated with them, and then their Instagram profile has grown from maybe a few thousand to tens of thousands in a really short space of time. So what you might be thinking is, maybe when you're there in the moment, this isn't really doing well, I can't really see the results building very quickly, but it's about seeing the long-term vision and the long-term opportunity that content will bring you, and And one of my friends, he is a carpenter, and he has an Instagram account, and he mainly does things like fitted wardrobes, and his Instagram is lots of video content about showing him actually making the wardrobes. So you see how it's done, the finished product, and there's lots of tips for other carpenters on the types of tools he's using, how he's done things, and he has grown his following quite quickly, and he has recently got a celebrity influencer on Instagram to collaborate with him. So he's had a huge opportunity just from doing that. And you might think that something like videos of fitted wardrobes is not interesting content, but for his target audience, it's exactly what they're looking for. He doesn't put really pictures of his children or what he's had for breakfast or anything like that. Nothing that's kind of trendy content, but he worked out really quickly exactly what his audience wanted, which are pretty much all men, and they don't want all of the fluffy stuff. And that's an example. And I don't know whether you guys know who Mrs. Hinch is, but Mrs. Hinch, again, she is an influencer now on Instagram, and her success came after she was spotted by media, and she went on to This Morning, and when she went on to This Morning, her audience turned into millions and millions of followers. So whilst you might think it's going to take me a really long time to get to maybe 100,000 followers, 200,000, million, whatever your target is, yes, at the beginning it is really hard, but when you get those collaborations and you work with other people, which is really what you're trying to do if you want to grow big, it's a fantastic opportunity for you to do that, for you to be noticed, and for those opportunities to kind of fall into your lap and land into your lap, because that ultimately is what will happen, and I've seen that happen for lots of people. So I hope that inspires you to use this as your strategy. Okay, so the last section that I want to focus on is really how you can get the best results from your content marketing. So I've been really clear in terms of the content's got to be relevant, it's got to be educational, it's got to build connection with your audience, and really that's what producing sticky content means. It is having great content where your audience are waiting for your next piece of content, your next blog post to be launched, your next podcast episode to be aired. We talked about understanding your audience, so really getting to understanding who your customers are, what their problems are, and yeah, I've already touched on that, so I won't go into that again. Mastering one or two channels to begin with, so that will avoid you feeling really overwhelmed. It can be easy to people will say, oh, you should launch a podcast, and people say that to me, oh, you would do really well on a podcast, but I know that in terms of the stage where I am as a business, I'm not ready to be producing a podcast yet. My channel of growth at the moment is Instagram, and at the moment that is the only thing that I have time to focus on, and I want to really grow my audience on Instagram before I can move to other channels, because I feel that Instagram is the best channel for me right now and my business right now. Producing engaging and entertaining and authentic content. I think if you're, depending on what your subject is, I mean, mine is food allergies, which isn't in itself entertaining or engaging. It's quite a very serious subject, but it is around what do I want people to feel when they see my content? Do I want them to feel really sad and depressed? And a lot of people actually, they don't want to see that on their news feeds. So I have to be really careful that I don't switch people off and leave them feeling really sad and depressed, because they're not. Why would you want content that's going to make you feel like that? You want people to feel empowered, and yes, they do have this that they have to live with, but they want solutions, and they want to feel empowered, and that whatever their problem is. So my problem, for example, is around how do I get people to understand how serious the food allergies are, and how do I stop family trying to give food to my daughter that could potentially kill her. Now that sounds a bit crazy, but I've even had messages this morning from lots of mums saying, yes, I have the same problem with my mother-in-law, who feels that I'm stopping my mother-in-law from having fun. Now for me, that's like, wow, this is amazing insights that I'm getting from these other mums who I'm targeting my product to, and I know there's a significant amount of people who have that problem. I'm just going to look at the question. So is it possible for certain products customers don't necessarily have a problem that needs solving? Yeah. So yeah, so there will be problems that so products, so for example, lifestyle brands, so it could be things like clothing. People don't necessarily have a problem. They have the clothes that they want. They don't need new clothes. But the type of content, for example, that you could use there is a women's clothing retailer called Never Fully Dressed, and they produce video content which is showing how to wear their clothing. So they'll have maybe a top or a dress, and you can wear it maybe 5 different ways, and they'll tie the dress in maybe different ways, they'll accessorize it in different ways. So it's quality content which is engaging and interesting to its audience. And for all the females on this call, I don't know whether you have seen lots of people doing makeup tutorials and hair tutorials on Instagram, or maybe that's me and the type of content that I'm interested in, but people know how to really put makeup on and how to straighten their hair and how to dry their hair, but they get hundreds and thousands of people watching those tutorials because that's what's interesting to them. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean solving a problem, but it's finding out what is it that people are interested in and want to know, want to watch. When we're looking at content, the types of content that work the best is video content, because it's the most engaging, and podcasts work really well as well. And really what you're trying to do with your content is stand out and do something a bit different. So again, I'll just give a really quick example for myself. So my business is food allergies, and I am currently working on a video diary series for Instagram TV, which brings my audience into my home and shows what my life is like living with allergies in a very real, but lifestyle kind of watchy way. So it would appeal to people that don't have allergies but maybe have young families and just want to be nosy and look at kind of the stuff that the same things or the same struggles that people have with trying to get their kids to eat, trying to get their kids down for bedtime, trying to keep their children occupied during lockdown. And it's just something that's a bit more stand out, a bit different, more engaging. And so really kind of thinking outside of the box of how you can make your content easily digestible to your audience. the other tip that I have, this is an amazing tip which will hopefully change your lives or your clients' lives, is repurposing content. Again, we talked about people feeling overwhelmed because they can't commit to all of the huge amount of content that they need to produce. And the tip that somebody who works in content marketing as their business told me was to create a video and then have that video transcribed into a blog post, use small parts of that video into a series of social media posts, and you've then got, you know, from maybe a 10-minute video, maybe a month's worth, maybe even more worth of content. So that's how you would, I know it talks about seeding and repurposing content within the slides. It is, you know, try and be really efficient with how you produce your content. Also, because you're talking about the same topic, when you're talking about the same thing repeatedly, it tends to resonate more rather than jumping from one specific topic to another. So again, a really good way. Another way that you can have support with your content creation is to get people to do maybe guest blog posts for you. Just got another question. Okay, seeding content. What does seeding content mean? So seeding content is using a variety of channels to promote your content. So for example, I might produce a blog post, but I might so I might, for example, do an Instagram live with somebody that I've done an interview, and then I might turn that into a blog post where I've basically pulled out the key things from the interview into a blog post. I've then promoted that within my social media to say, done this, check out the blog post, it's got some 5 great tips for XYZ. And then that can also be used within groups, for example, groups where my audience are hanging out. And I might, if I had a podcast, I might do a podcast and invite the person who I interviewed onto the podcast as well. Or I might you know, ask somebody a question on what did you think about the interview that I did? Did you agree with what they were saying? Do you have anything to add to it? And it's really basically maximizing the use of that one piece of content. And remember, not everybody will see what's on your newsfeed on social media, and they might not catch every piece of content that you do. So it just gives the audience an opportunity to be able to catch that piece of content. So it's time saving, but it also really helps to get your content seen by your target audience. So the last thing that I would suggest is invest in the best quality that you can according to your budget. So if you've got an Instagram account, it's about the quality of the images. So invest in high-res images, get a professional photographer, use your own imagery and not stock imagery, because people don't want to see stock imagery. They want to see you, and it's got to be authentic. If you're doing a podcast, the audio quality is really important. If you're doing video, try and get somebody professional to edit the video for you, and invest in proper equipment for it as well. So these things don't have to be hugely expensive, but when you do invest, put a little bit of investment to it, you will see better results than if you didn't. So I would really highly recommend you do those. And so I am going to, I've got another question. Okay. Okay, so that brings me to the end. And so I would love to hear what questions that you have on anything that I've spoken about. I feel like I whizzed through that quite quickly. Let's have a look.
I think if people like a question, it shoots it to the top. So I just liked Laura's question. So that's why if you go to the top, you'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What would be the best way of sharing content in English to a multilingual audience? Laura, what do you want to join in? Shall I? I'm just going to bring you onto the chat.
Hi.
Hi, Laura.
Hello.
What is
Hello.
it that you do?
So we have an English language school.
Yeah.
So all of our clients are non-native English speakers with different levels of English, and this our main website is translated into 6 different languages, but blog posts and social media posts don't tend to get translated.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering how to get that out there further.
Do it. So the way that I have seen other people do this, for example, on social media, is they might have separate social media accounts. So, for example, one in English, one in French, one in German, one in Spanish. And obviously that is going to be labour intensive and time consuming, but that is because you've got different groups of customers, different segments of customers, your content is specific and relevant to them, and it does work really well. It does work really well. So for people that have chosen to use that strategy, the reason that I asked you what you did was I just wondered whether if you had a big enough audience that just spoke English, I would probably say focus on those first and then translate your content depending on the other languages, but your business obviously focuses on all of those different languages. So yeah, I would maybe use companies like maybe Fiverr to create that content for you in that specific language and have those separate accounts, separate pieces of content for them.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that answer?
It does. It does. Yeah.
Okay. Was there anyone else that wanted to join in? Let's have a look. No. Okay, does anybody want to maybe share their experience of content or anything that they have seen that they thought worked really well or things that they really disliked? So it was interesting to see about the comment about the ebooks, saying that we just don't like seeing too much content.
Manpreet, could you talk a little bit about white papers? Because I actually have no idea what they are. And they're mentioned in the content marketing.
Yeah. Do you want to? Okay. Yeah. So white papers is it might be, for example, a piece of research that maybe you have worked on or collaborated with, or it could be something that you are maybe sharing different research within that problem area, and basically that's what it'd be. It's like a lengthy piece of content, like a book, I suppose. But what you could do with that content is create lots of additional content from that. So I think it talks about that within the DMI around, you could make an ebook from that, you could do a series of interviews, and doing something like a white paper, for example, would raise your profile into maybe the national media, because you have come out, you have done some research. So for example, if I just again talk about my allergy thing, if I was to say, for example, interview maybe 100 schools or 200 schools and ask them a series of questions about their experience of children with allergies in their school, or I could interview 200 restaurants, I could then develop my research paper and then talk about it to people, other journalists, maybe get on TV. So it just really is a really good way. Obviously it takes more investment and more time to create, but it's a really good way of really raising your profile and creating a lot more content from that. But it will definitely make you be seen as an authority and have a lot of credibility within your field, and obviously it will be relevant to certain industries as opposed to others. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks,
yeah. Thank you for the question. Okay, we got any more?
Megan's got a question.
What are your thoughts on content scheduling? Yes, actually I was meant to talk about that in my tip. Yes, content planning is basically, if you're working for a company or you're working for yourself, you will not be able to do it without content planning. For example, even just looking, if you were just to look at social media, to find the images and find the content can take a really long time, and it does take a long time to build up a library of images, and you don't want to necessarily keep reusing the same content and images as over time. So the way that I plan my content is 1 month in advance, and there will be companies that can come to you and say, look, we'll do your 12-month content plan for you. You just do it for 2 days, we'll have a workshop and you'll have your 12-month plan of content. But what I don't like about that is things change so much over the 12-month period. You don't know if the content that you're putting out is being received in the way that you want it to. If you have a 1-month plan, it allows you to adapt and change your content schedule quickly and adapt to what your audience are telling you. So if you take, for example, one topic, 1 or 2 topics, then what I would do is have related content to that whole topic for the whole of the month, and it then is kind of telling a story to my audience, and they will understand whatever it is the message is. So could be to do with maybe fitness and diet, and you're giving tips related to one specific niche area within that. Your question was around Planoly. Yeah, Planoly is a really, really good one. I think there are some other tools within the DMI slides. I just use myself my own system, and I don't actually schedule in my social media posts. I do them as I block out time in my diary, and then I'll upload them. And one of the reasons that I do that is so that I can respond to comments straight away, and this covers a bit of social media, but so I won't go into it too much. But you really want to be engaging and responding to what your audience are saying straight away. So If it was being scheduled and I'd forgot to kind of check and got busy with meetings or something else, then I wouldn't be as active or interactive, and it would have like a negative impact. So when you respond to your audience straight away, you're more visible. Instagram will show your content to more people because you're more active on that platform. But yeah, I think really you're just basically planning what you want to say, when you want to say it, and having your content planned out and ready, and having your images. And for me personally, what I found the hardest was to get the right images for the content, and that just takes a really long time to do. But coming up with the ideas as you're thinking, you might be going for a walk, just have a notebook and just write any ideas for content on a list. And I don't have a shortage of coming up with ideas. It's just I suppose the time that I struggle with, and trying to get it more efficient and running more systematically. I hope that helps. Was there any?
Hola, hola, aquí estoy.
I hope that's really helped, and I hope that's really helps you feel passionate about using content marketing as a channel. Some businesses might be unable to sell digitally, but I know there are a lot of businesses that I'm surrounded by where they have changed their business, and Bayswater is one of them, to be able to still operate digitally. So in terms of marketing demand, there are people that need support with marketing because all of a sudden this has happened and they don't know anything about marketing, and so it's a really good time to be learning about this and helping other people that are struggling to understand it and how to make it work for their business. And for content, this is something that people can be working on developing their social media, developing their content, because at the end of the day, these form assets for the business that will ultimately lead for sales. So I would encourage you and the people that you're working with, and if you're not working at the moment, when you do, to really be understanding of how content marketing can work for the business, and really manage expectations of the investment that's required and what the results are that you would expect. So I will, if there's no other questions,
thank you.
I will leave you guys there, and I will see you next time. Hope you all have a good weekend.
Bueno, eso fue todo hoy. Espero que hayan disfrutado bastante la clase. Recuerden el próximo sábado a las 11 de la mañana, muy puntuales, y estamos para ayudarlos. Entonces, si alguna cosa, saben que siempre estamos acá y se pueden comunicar con nosotros. Muchas gracias por haber asistido a todos y ojalá estén aprovechando bastante las clases. Entonces, nos vemos el próximo sábado. Chao.